Hi, it's Snorgle. Welcome back to Lushfoil Photography Simulator. This time we're in East Maddon Park, Northern UK. Definitely looks like a rainy evening in North England. Someone needs to maybe trim these trees a little bit. Oh, look, a lovely little cafe here. We're just having a nice, relaxing time. Bring up our DSLR camera. Sure. We're going to need to find this little photography board. We're going to need to find one. It'll tell us what pictures we need to take. Oh, look, a little gazebo. That's delightful. And, of course, I like to take pictures of these. I don't know if it's required, but I like to think it is. Okay, so these are the two pictures we have to take. One is like a large sort of, I'm not sure what that is, like a large sort of space there. Look at that on the left. On the right, looks like there's a bridge with two trees. So this only has two, and I think most of them have more than two. I think most of them have 7 to 9. So typically the ones we've had before, it only had 2. Is this where it came from? The one we saw before that only had 2. They had multiple boards. So they had like 3 boards, and one had 2, and one had 3, and one had 5. Like that. That's, I think, what we're probably looking at here. But I don't know for sure. Maybe the game's going to throw a little spanner in the works. Maybe. What's this? This is it looks like maybe a public bathroom, public restroom. We would call them restrooms here in the US. Not sure if what they call them in the UK. Loo? They call it a loo? I don't know if they call it a loo if it's public, though. What's this? Okay. Oh, that's don't like that. Yeah, stop. Can we get rid of it? Oh, okay. Because it's not really protecting me from anything. Wait. Is this the bridge we need to take a photo of? Doesn't look like it, does it? The railing's different. Okay, it's not. They're trying to fool me. They almost did it, too. Almost did it. Looks very quaint, isn't it? Another restroom. Let's go this way, maybe. This place is huge, so I'm going to get so lost. Oh, my God. That looks like maybe some type of lake, perhaps? I wonder if it's connected to part of the canal system. Maybe there's a narrowboat we'll see. I was fascinated by narrowboats. What is that? Huh. I'm always fascinated by narrowboats. I watch a bunch of narrowboat vloggers. I'd love to live on a narrowboat someday. It'd be really cool, I think. And with 5G internet, I think in the UK 5G internet is actually quite common. Quite common. You could pretty much live on an airboat and be fine. Is this, I don't think this is the same. Yeah, that's not, well, it's close. The railing is close. The railing is close, but the trees aren't right. Yeah, the trees aren't right. Maybe it's facing the other direction? Let's try that. Does it look better this way? Maybe. I still don't... Yeah. That might be... Well, let's try it. Let's take a picture. Why not? Is that it? That was it. Nice. Lovely. A little surprised. Not gonna lie. This is so... This actually, you know what this reminds me of? This actually reminds me quite a bit of Seattle. Like in the fall. To think about like the Pacific Northwest, I think, is that a lot of people like this type of weather. I was relatively indifferent to it when I lived in the Pacific Northwest. What is this? Wait. Hold it. Stop. Wait. Stop. Wait. Hold it. Wait. Stop. Wait. Is this when you take a picture? It 100% is. It 100% is. What's that? What? Oh, we got a drone. Cool. Why did I pilot? What? Yeah, lift alt, that's right. I forget how the drone controls. Ascent, descend, quick photo, adjust image setting, toggle portrait, exit drone, this escape, or M. Okay. I got a drone though, and that's good. Why did I? That's the first time they've done that. They just teleported me somewhere. That's weird. That's odd. They haven't done that before. Now I completely don't know where I am. Oh, how strange. This isn't really a puzzle game. It's not even really a walking simulator. Like I always think like with walking simulators, you're just trying to figure out where, like a story, typically with walking simulators. You look at environmental clues and you discover a story. This isn't really even doing that. It really is just casually walking along. A simulator for walking along in this park in northern England. A bit of a drizzly night. No one else is around. I don't think the rain would not. It rains so much in the UK that I don't think the rain would dissuade anybody from coming here if they wanted to. Of course, we also have an umbrella. I don't think it's necessary so we're not getting wet, but we do have one. But what if needed? So we have all of our pictures taken. We need to find more. We need to find more boards. We need to find more of those photo boards. This is a very nice game. I believe that this was done by a solo developer, and it's in Unreal Engine, which is why it looks so darn good. Anything over here? Well, this is still public lose. I always get copyright flags from the music on this, but the thing I really appreciate is the developer licensed it for Let's Plays. So essentially, it's flagged, but there's no monetary thing. Nobody can monetize your videos and all the other stuff that happens when you get a copyright flag. And I appreciate that he did that. The solo dev, that's thoughtful. And not a lot of small indie developers. There's a lot of indie developers who don't think of that. There's a game called Lake that I put off playing for a long time. I really wanted to play it. I did eventually end up playing it, and the Christmas DLC. And to find another photography board. And the reason I put it off is people had said, "What's this? Oh, look at this! Another little break from the. Oh, we can't get a little break from the rain. No, maybe a little bit. Just a tiny bit. Just a little tiny bit." But the developer on the radio that plays in it's like a mail delivery sim, and on the radio. He licensed Epidemic Sound, which is not a huge deal, but then you'd have to tell him every single video. You'd have to contact the developer and wait for him to contact Epidemic and give him the name of the video, and I just didn't play for the longest time. And finally, the developer added, after a lot of pressure from fans, added no music, and that was perfect. What is this? What's up here? I feel like this should be a photo, you know? I feel like it should be. Let's get more of the overall ambience as well. We do need to find another photography board. That's cool though. That's really neat. This nice little fountain. Oh, the water's actually quite... That's got some power behind it. I was not expecting that. I thought it was going to be more gentle. Interesting. Very interesting. What's down here? Anything? We need another photography board. So we can continue our... Okay, so this looks like it's... would that be a canal? I don't think so. It could be, though. It totally could be. It's about... Some canals are very thin, but others get a little bit wider. That could totally be a canal for narrowboats. It totally could. Interesting. Yeah, I do watch a lot of narrowboat vloggers. Oh, that's interesting. Coming up a little bit. This park is huge. I think so far, I'm assuming this is a real park. So far, every place else we have been has been an actual real location. I'm assuming this will be no different. I wonder how long this park has been here. Hundreds of years? Maybe. I mean, I feel like in the UK they probably have public parks that are older than the country I'm from, the US. You know? I feel like that's probably a thing. But I don't know the history of public parks. I know that... I think that Ben Franklin started the concept of a library, the public library. But not, I mean, obviously libraries date back thousands and thousands of years, but the idea that it's a municipal one, I believe, has been Franklin. I could be wrong about that. I'm not a historian, of course. I'm not a librariologist. But I vaguely recall that. We learned that. And of course, I could have learned that and been completely false as well. Okay, no torch. I would think that we might want a torch, but we don't have one. I do appreciate we got... Now, this looks... I don't see the other side of the land there, so I wonder if this is maybe on the coast? I'm not sure. I don't know. There's land there. That's an awfully long bridge. Should we go over it and see what's on the other side? Let's head over there. Let's see what this side of the... This is way too wide for a narrowboat block. That other one, the narrowboat like canal, that other one would have much more in line with what I'm used to seeing narrowboats on. I do think it would be really cool to live in a narrowboat. Inconvenient sometimes, certainly, but how peaceful, you know? My understanding is, though, you do have to be a little careful where you stay because, like, there have been some narrowboaters that have talked about how they... Oh, we're back here, okay. There have been some narrowboaters that have talked about how they moored up... What's that? They moored up in London overnight and a bunch of drunk people pounding on their boat and throwing things around outside in the middle of the night. That's a little upsetting, you know? And people just being jerks. That would be upsetting because you'd feel all alone, you know? I guess you could call the UK equivalent of 911. Not sure how... I don't know how effective that is. I'm assuming probably quite. I mean, here in the US, it just depends on what location you're in, you know? Some municipalities are very effective and others not so much. Not so much, because they're understaffed. I'm not trying to make excuses, I'm just saying. I am enjoying myself, but I do wish I'd find some more boards. I don't quite understand why I'm not finding more boards. What is over here? I'm just gonna not even look both ways. That's how carefree I'm being here. Very dark. Okay, parking lot. Some buildings. Typically, we can't get into these buildings. The building isn't open. Yeah, we can't get into it. That's typically the way it is with this game. But fair enough. Fair enough. This says I can't read what that says. Interesting. They do seem to do fairly well with the public loos, public restrooms. What's this? What is that? Oh, is that like a cupcake? Like a cupcake, didn't it? Fish and chips, of course. It's next up. How would you fish and chips here? That doesn't look like it's a deep fryer. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Wait. Yeah, maybe they pre-cooked. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm a little dubious about that. Don't do that to each other. Actually, let's go back and take a little picture of this little thing here. It just looks kind of quaint. And it's nice to do that because then we can teleport through the pictures, as one does in real life. You don't teleport through your pictures? Oh, you must have an iPhone. Google introduced that years and years ago. Don't worry. Apple will reinvent it in a couple of years and you'll be able to teleport through your pictures too. You don't have to feel left out. It's all good. This is similar. Is this a little different? I absolutely oopsie. Okay, getting some snacks. Get some snacks. Some snackaroos. First one's the cupcake. This stuff definitely looks like a croissant. Not particularly British, but probably popular in the UK. Certainly. Quite popular. Not quite popular, but fairly popular here in the US as well. Why not? I mean, kind of anything with puff pastry is pretty dope. I'm not getting why I'm not seeing more of those photo boards here. It's a little frustrating because, man, it's really coming down. Because I feel like I'm seeing a bunch of these areas, and I'm not. Yeah, I don't know. What's that building? What is that? Some lights on. Is that like a residential building? Oh, I'm not allowed to go there. Okay. I think it is. Like some flats. Isn't that neat? That's cool. That's really cool. I like that. Here. They're from the UK, probably making fun of me for taking pictures of nondescript apart. But I'm not from the UK and it looks cool. The developer does such a great job of just getting the right vibe. It's very relaxing. Do you ever walk around at night? I do sometimes. Sometimes I don't particularly suffer from insomnia hugely, but sometimes I start thinking about something, that I care about. And I kind of end up, my mind just ends up racing, and I find sometimes that just going out, 2 or 3 in the morning, go for a nice, quiet walk. Oh, look at that. This is fancy, a little fancy too. Let's back up here and So you get a little picture of this too. Okay. Yeah, but sometimes going out and having a walk like that, you know, really early in the morning or very late at night, depending on how you look at it, can actually be quite nice. Peaceful. Nobody's out. I mean, I live in a suburb of a large city. And it's just such a uncommon thing to walk outside and just there's nobody else around. No animals around. There's no. I mean, occasionally you might see a coyote or something like that, but that's not. They typically don't mess with you. That's pretty rare though. Typically, you don't see anybody, and it's just dead quiet. Maybe in the distance you can hear a little car traveling by or something, but in general, it's just very quiet. Okay. God, this place is absolutely massive. It's so big. I want to explore more back here. But yeah, I do that sometimes. Sometimes I get, like I said, sometimes I get thinking about something, I get an idea in my head about maybe something I want to do for my YouTube channel or some project I'm working on. My mind starts racing. And I find it very meditative to just go for a walk, nothing else around, and just be mindful, just be in the moment. Don't think about anything. Just stay in the moment. What is this? Stay in the moment, be in the moment. Okay, so we're back here. Just stay in the moment, be in the moment. If something, oftentimes your mind will start switching back to doing other things, wanting to think about other things. And you just need to gently push it in the other direction. Just stop and let all those thoughts leave your mind. And then go back to being mindful. You're trying to, and just be aware of your environment and aware of how you're fitting into your environment and where you're going. Not in a worried way like looking at a map or GPS, but just in a absorbing what's happening to you. The sound of your feet hitting the sidewalk as you walk along. The sort of rhythmic steps that you take. That gait, as it were, as you walk along. And maybe there's some incidental environmental sounds. Maybe you hear the breeze, and the leaves rustling. Maybe you're not walking on. Okay, all right, I get it, I understand. Maybe you're not walking along a path, Maybe you're walking along dirt, or in a park on grass, and the sound that your feet makes when they hit that dirt, or they hit the grass, or maybe you're walking on like a gravel road, and the sound the gravel makes. It's always kind of interesting, isn't it, when you're walking on a road like that, because you walk along and sometimes different parts of the road are made of different sized gravel, and the experience of walking on them is not only radically different, but the sound it makes is different too. So I can feel that there's larger rocks. Let's just go. You can feel that there's larger rocks, right? You can feel those larger rocks versus the small gravel, like the pea-sized gravel. You can feel that distinct. You can hear it. And it really changes how you're experiencing it versus, say, a dirt road where you hear the sound of the dried dirt, under your feet. That's so interesting, isn't it? The substances we walk on and how that impacts how we perceive it. even, walking along in mud, you have some wellies on and you're sloshing along in the mud. That makes a very distinct sound. And when you think about that, you get a very distinct feeling. What it's like. Everybody knows what that's like, right? You got your rubber boots on and you're kind of slogging through that. That can be pleasant too, though. Quite pleasant. The sound it makes when, like, which way am I going? Up here. Like, the sound it makes when it kind of makes like a sucking sound when your boots come out of that mud. I've been here before. Yeah. This is where that cupcake was. That's where the cupcake was. Keep going. It's a little frustrating that I haven't found more photo boards. I there's more than 2 pictures. I can 100% tell you that, but it's a little confusing. Not gonna lie. I am impressed with the number of public restrooms. Sounds stupid, but really, I am. Go back to walking like alone. I used to really enjoy. I work out, but I don't run anymore. I do weight training and I ride a bike. But I used to run and I really enjoyed it. I actually miss it. I kind of injured my knee and I can't do that anymore, but I really enjoyed it just because like in the summertime where I lived when I ran, it get very, very, very hot in the summertime. Very hot. Like triple digits Fahrenheit. Easily into like 108, 110. And of course, it doesn't, if it's 110 in the daytime, it doesn't cool off that much at night. Like nights are still 85 or 90. And so when I ran, you can't run in the day because it's dangerous. You'll exhaust yourself and wow, look at the size of the tree. You'll exhaust yourself and potentially have a like make yourself very sick from heat. So I would run at like, I'd get up really early in the morning, like 4:30 in the morning, and it was just before the sun came. You could just see as I would go outside, and I'd walk about a half a mile before I started running just to get my legs warmed up, And where I lived in this weird suburb that was not part of the city. It was outside the city limits, so all the roads were about a square mile. I mean, the rest, everything else around it was regular suburb stuff, paved roads and whatever, and sidewalks. The place I lived, though, the square mile was outside the city limits, and I think they voted not to be incorporated when some vote came up. And so all the roads were dirt. And then people had horses and different things that you wouldn't be able to have in the city, but they could have here because it wasn't part of the city. And that's kind of majestic. Look at that. It's frustrating to me that this isn't centered in here, but that's okay. So anyway, I distinctly remember that, like walking, you hear the sound of my feet hitting the dirt for that half a mile, then walk to like the sidewalk. And then when I hit the sidewalk, it was regular. There was sidewalk, there was paved roads, there were cars. Not that many at that time in the morning. There was almost nobody out at that time in the morning. And so I start running. And here's the part I miss. You just take in, like at that time in the morning, even the animals are just starting to wake up, right? Basketball courts? Look at that. Huh. This is cool. So, even at that time when when I left, the birds weren't even up yet, right? The birds weren't up yet, and the thing I noticed, this is really funny. The thing I noticed was, like right at that time, right exactly at that time, I wish I could read what that said. Right exactly at that time, 4:30 in the morning, when you can just start to see the orange from the sun coming up over the horizon, just barely. And this park is massive. And with the sun coming up in the morning, the first thing that would come out at that exact time that I would come out were the baby bunnies. And there were just a ton of baby bunnies everywhere. And then at some point, the baby bunnies went back into their warren, and the full-size adult bunnies would come out. And this is still before the sun was up, and this was very consistent the whole time. It's very interesting to observe. And then after the bunnies were up, the birds would come out, and the bunnies and the birds overlapped a little bit, and then the bunnies would go back and do some stuff in the morning. And the birds would come out when the sun really legitimately started to come out. That's when the birds came out and the birds would start singing. And it was just interesting to experience that. Every morning, 5 days a week or whatever. Just experience that whole watching the world come to life. Watching it go from darkness with just a the faintest glow on the horizon of the indication that the day's coming. And then by the time I finished my run, the sun would be up a little bit. People would be starting to go around, right? People would start driving to work, and people would be going outside and doing things. The world was just getting going again. But that sound, the distinct sound of just the environmental noise, the incidental noise that you hear, and the rhythmic sound of your feet hitting the sidewalk. Just tap, 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 tap. Just consistent rhythmic sound I found extremely meditative. Very much so. I deeply miss that. I can't, like I said, I screwed up I got injured and I can't do that anymore. I ride a bike, which is fine, but it's not the same. It's not the same experience, and I do miss that, because that's really, it was such an incredible time when no one else is around. Just you, and the world is asleep. Most of the animals are still asleep. Whoops, I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm apologizing to a trash can. But just you, wait, I went the wrong way. Just you, when you get up, the animals are still asleep. Even the baby bunnies are just sort of yawning and coming out of their warrens. Maybe they have to be urged by their parents to get out there and get some food before there's too many dangerous predators around. Not sure. Maybe. Maybe it's just instinctive, Maybe they don't, maybe it's just a thing that they do, that bunnies do. Just a certain time of day, have I been here? I'm sure I have. There's a lot of things that look the same, but this is the basketball courts. Yeah. Okay. But there's a lot of, I think that the reason rabbits are so successful, and let's be clear here, they're successful as prey, right? I mean, rabbits are essentially nature's Skittles. And I'm not saying it's pleasant, I'm just saying that's just the reality of the situation. Okay, that's that one. Interesting. Coming from another side. Interesting. But they're obviously a successful animal because they proliferate, certainly. And it's very interesting to me how that works and how consistent that was. Baby bunnies first, And the baby bunnies were so cute. They're little tiny things, little tiny things. No supervision or anything. And then I never did really recognize what was the criteria for them to go back inside, because it just seemed like the other side was I was sort of trying to get into a zone, right? Trying to get into a mindfulness zone, so I wasn't really paying attention that much. But it always seemed like at some point the baby bunnies just disappeared suddenly. I just suddenly noticed they weren't there. And the adult bunnies were there. Like they just kind of switched off. They just kind of moved over at one point. We've been here as well. I like that you can kind of sit around here. That's pleasant. Very pleasant. I find this one, just for some reason, I find this level in particular to be extremely pleasant, even though I don't quite understand why I'm not seeing any more photo boards. I legitimately don't understand that. It's unusual. Okay, so some of them are exactly the same. Got it. You know what is that? Like a donut, maybe? Maybe. Okay, well this is new. We know we haven't been here. This place is massive, and there's no possible way in any lifetime that I'm going to get all these pictures. Which is fine. Over here. Sometimes the reflection on the leaves fool me into thinking it's something else. You actually do some pretty decent skateboarding here. I don't know what the skateboarding laws are in the UK. I think here in the US, depends on state by state, of course, but for the most part, in public spaces, you can skate as long as you're not being a nuisance. Which is a good thing for skaters to remember, you know. I still skateboard some myself a little bit, and I always try to not be a nuisance. Everybody's trying to enjoy what they're doing outside. Maybe trying to get something done. Maybe they're just trying to get by. Maybe they have a problem, you know? Maybe something happened that wasn't very nice and upsetting them. Maybe they're concerned about somebody they know. Maybe somebody they know is having problems, or maybe they just recently suffered a loss. Just, you never know what people are going through and how they handle it. I mean, sometimes people seem very terse sometimes, you know, but I think sometimes it's just because somebody feels like they're at the end of the rope and they can't really. Sorry, I coughed there. Jeez. Get a little water. But sometimes maybe they just feel like they're at the end of the rope. They've suffered something and they're trying to deal with it. And it's not that they're necessarily mean or... Oh man, that looks good too. All these baked goods. It's not that they're being mean or something. Sometimes people just, they've hit their cognitive load, even from a emotional standpoint, right? And they just have, their brain has a cue, and it gets backed up, and people handle it different ways. But we've been going on here for about 40 minutes, and I think that's a pretty good place to end this video. I may come back to this one, actually. I'm really enjoying it, but thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time for more Lushfoil Photography Simulator. This game is so great.